It was called Operation Trojan Horse. On Wednesday, a man in a Penske truck pulled up to a Home Depot in Westlake, California. Day laborers hang out there. He was offering work. As they gathered near the truck, several Border Patrol agents jumped out. The workers scattered. 16 were arrested. Many city leaders, from Mayor Karen Bass on down, as well as advocates for immigrants, were indignant. They thought such sweeps had ended due to a July 11 temporary restraining order from the U.S. District Court. It banned indiscriminate immigration stops and arrests on Fourth Amendment grounds. The order had been upheld earlier this week by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Local authorities were wondering what legal steps to take next, but as far as the feds were concerned, the raid was successful. They were enforcing federal law and would continue to do so. Not that they didn't care about the TRO. On Thursday, the Trump White House petitioned the Supreme Court, asking them to lift the ban on roving patrols. And before I forget to mention this, Penske Truck Rental made clear that they did not authorize their vehicle to be used in such a way. It looks like the Trump administration is involved in yet another legal standoff. Joining us now is Gregory Bovino, Chief Patrol Agent El Centro Sector at the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Chief, thank you for being here. This is not the first time that this particular Home Depot has been the focus of an enforcement action. What is it that is going on at Home Depots generally from your perspective?
Sure. Well, good morning, Michael, and thanks for having me. Or any other location here in Los Angeles, what we're looking at is targeted enforcement efforts against known violators of Title VIII. Title VIII are our immigration statutes, our immigration laws. So when individuals violate Title VIII, especially those individuals that may have criminal histories, significant criminal histories, prior deports, or things like that, we're going to go after those folks. And it doesn't matter if it's at a Home Depot or anywhere else, we're going to go after those folks. And that's what we did at this particular location, as well as many other locations throughout Los Angeles.
I read that TRO last night. It says that you're not allowed to rely on race, ethnicity, accent, location, or type of work. So what was the reasonable suspicion on which you were acting?
Sure. Michael, what we look at here, again, as I said, prior criminal histories. And if we know that someone is an illegal alien, then that's not only reasonable suspicion, that is probable cause. So, which is actually a higher level than reasonable suspicion. So in looking at locations throughout Los Angeles, including that Home Depot, we understand, we knew that there were individuals that were in fact Title VIII violators. In fact, several of them at that Home Depot, and it was proven right during that raid. So that's typically what we look at, is that targeted enforcement. Michael, we've got 40 plus teams spread across Los Angeles conducting that Title VIII mission, and the Home Depot was one of those 40 teams.
Chief, I want you to get rid of the rapists and the murderers and the assaulters. I'm not so sure what to do about, as I like to put it, the short order cook in New Jersey, in Jersey City maybe. It's like a hypothetical of mine. Peggy Noonan, not exactly a progressive. She was a speechwriter for Ronald Reagan. In the Wall Street Journal, she wrote within the last week the following. I'm going to read it aloud to you. She said, "Immigrants, legal and not, keep my town going. I know them. They work themselves hard, and they are all about family. They touch my heart." Sorry to be corny. And if you're reading this, you know they touch your heart too, and you're for them. The border appears to be closed. Hypervigilance is no longer in order. It's past time to show a filial connection and appreciation. Stop picking on them. Cease and desist. Get the bad guys, not the good guys. The American people won't support these raids. It's wicked to remove a man or woman from an honest job, and we aren't a wicked people. She was talking about workplace enforcement. I think the enforcement actions at Home Depots comes under the same umbrella. What do you say to that mindset, that argument?
Sure. Michael, I think that, again, that's wishful thinking at its very worst. When we look at some of the heinous criminals that we've apprehended at Home Depots throughout California, I think it becomes evident that we have a problem in this country that stems from that 4 plus years, unmitigated migration of illegal aliens across that border. folks that were unvetted. We don't know who these individuals are, but one thing we do know is that they're walking our streets with impunity. Michael, there was an individual that was apprehended here just a few weeks ago in front of a Home Depot who was a child rapist. Would Miss Noonan like that individual to come into her house, perhaps with her grandchildren, if she has any,
no,
and
of course
paint
not.
a wall?
Of course not.
So absolutely.
No.
So we're going after those individuals. And let me finish here. Is one of the things that we're now finding, Michael, is 30 to 40% of the illegal aliens that we apprehend in these larger operations like you saw at Home Depot have significant criminal and or immigration histories. That's 30 to 40%. And Michael, when I joined the Border Patrol 3 decades ago, that figure was generally around 5%. We apprehended a large group. Maybe 5% would have significant criminal histories.
Okay, but let me respond to that. Let me respond to that, because I want to address that, and then you can have the final word, I promise. So if 30 to 40% have a serious rap sheet, then the remaining 60 or 70% don't. So I'm most concerned about the person. I'm not excusing it. I just think that we need to be practical. I'm worried about, yes, the person who came here without playing by the rules. They overstayed a visa, but have since proven to be a solid individual. They work, they have a family, they pay taxes, and they haven't broken any other laws. What are we going to do about that case? Because I don't want to catch them all under that one big net. You get the final word.
Sure, Michael, thank you. I enforce federal immigration law, and one of the things that we don't talk about here are, what about mom and pop America that are put out of business because of people that they may be hard workers, but that doesn't negate the law. Hard work does not negate the law. If you rob a bank and you're a hard worker, does that make it okay to rob a bank? Absolutely not. So we have a lot of these folks that are unlicensed vendors. We actually apprehended several of those at that Home Depot. So immigration is not a victimless crime. It affects all of mom and pop America. And the 30 to 40%, we're definitely going after those, but everyone else has to do it right. If they don't, then we come into contact with them, we're going to arrest them. And they have an out here, Mike. It's called the CBP Home app. Do it right. We'll pay you $1,000 and a free plane ticket. Fly home. Do it right. That's all we're asking here.
Right. And I looked at that, too, but there's no assurance as to how and when and in what circumstances you're going to get to come back. I promised you would be the final word. I don't want to violate that. Chief, come back on a different occasion, because I really want to continue this conversation, and I thank you for being here. To everybody else at home, make sure that you're voting on today's poll question, and your social media comments I really appreciate. I voted in favor of such tactics. It isn't any different than an undercover officer posing as a drug buyer or posing as an underage child to capture a predator, says Michael, I guess, about Operation Trojan Horse. Hey, Catherine, can you put up that image of the guys in the back of the Penske truck, if you have that handy? And I hear the chief's point. The chief's point is, like, we go to the Home Depot. There it is. We go to the Home Depot and we pop out of the back of the Penske truck. And if you don't know, everybody at home, Home Depots in many parts of the country, I know this from radio listeners, have become gathering places where day laborers go and people show up and they want to hire them, you know, to do odd jobs and work and so forth. So if that net is capturing the 30% who's got a serious rap sheet, okay, I'm concerned about, what about the person who's also getting caught in that dragnet, who doesn't have any rap sheet other than the original sin? We need a pathway to citizenship, or at least to a green card that allows some of these folks to stay here and work and be good citizens. You have time to vote on today's poll question at Smerconish.com. Here it is. Is the risk of violence a sufficient reason to not run for office? Subscribe to my newsletter when you're there. You'll get the exclusive editorial work from the likes of Steve Breen. Love that.